This is Fieldsports Channel News. A farmer says he and his wife feared they would be killed by poachers when they launched a horrific attack on them and filmed it for fun. This video posted on social media by the poachers shows a group of people in vehicles who were believed to be illegally coursing for hares on farmland near Devizes in Wiltshire. We should warn you, this film contains violent images. We're not reporting the name of the farmer involved to protect his identity. He's standing outside the red four-wheel drive trying to protect his wife, who is inside the cab. You can hear the occupants of the vehicle cheering on their accomplices as they ram the four-wheel drive you can see in the clip. These stills show the damage caused to that vehicle, including broken windows smashed when the poachers fired steel ball bearings through the glass. The farmer's wife, who was sitting inside, narrowly escaped injury. Police were called and followed the poachers, who escaped in several cars and four-wheel drives. The attack comes after a Hampshire gamekeeper from an estate just across the county border was left with 2 broken legs after a similar incident just 3 weeks ago. If you can help, please contact the Rural Crime Team at Wiltshire Police using the link below.
So the level of violence is just totally unacceptable. This can't be tolerated. The levels of violence that the farmers are now facing and the threats that they get is to a scale where it's just not tolerable. And they're only doing one thing, and that's they're trying to protect their living and trying to stop these people accessing their land and damaging their property. Let alone the wildlife offences that are being committed at the same time. I can safely state here in terms of this is an absolute priority for Wiltshire Police. It's a priority for our Chief Constable. It is a priority for our Police and Crime Commissioner. They are actively seeking updates and progress of the investigation.
Gloucestershire Police has announced it has stopped processing new applications for gun certificates. In a press release on its website, the constabulary announced a suspension of processing licence applications, blaming unexpected resourcing issues for the decision. The force is legally bound to complete applications. BASC has contacted local MPs and the Police and Crime Commissioner to protest. They fear that new licences will now take at least 24 months to be considered.
The force has a statutory duty to do firearms grants. There is no alternative to go to. They are now supposed to be producing strategic demand assessment. I've just had a look back through the Home Office figures. The number of certificates they have, firearms and shotguns, about 12,500, and 500 new applications. That's been pretty much the same since 2008. So it's not as though this has come out of the blue. So it does make you ask the question, where's the resilience, where's the contingency to actually deal with this?
The Trump presidency of the US heralds a golden age for hunting and conservation. That's the message from Safari Club International. It was the only conservation organisation to come out in favour of Trump prior to the US election, which included a visit by Trump to SCI's Hunters Embassy in Washington, DC.
I think personally it bodes extremely well for the things that we want to get done. We fit right into his agenda, which is all fact-based, science-based. We don't deal with rhetoric and hyperbole when it comes to hunting and wildlife. We're going to make it very easy for him to help us.
New Zealand's annual Seeker Show has confirmed its place as the largest hunting exhibition in Australasia. There were more than 10,000 visitors through the doors of the Mystery Creek Exhibition Centre in Hamilton this year. Around 150 exhibitors displaying more than 250 brands greeted them. Dates for the 2025 show have already been announced, November the 8th and the 9th. Thanks to Nigel Gavin for the story. China is promoting wild boar hunting. After decades of tolerating hunting but not talking about it, the state-run news agency has put out a film showing the Chinese government is in favour of it. The film shows wild boar crop damage in Hunan province in the centre of China and how locals are using dogs and knives, New Zealand style, to catch and kill the pigs. Chinese hunters are jubilant that their government is endorsing them. Thanks to Philip Zhang for the story. The Game and Wildlife Conservation Trust is to have a new CEO for the first time in over 2 decades. Nick von Westenholz is leaving the role at the National Farmers Union to replace Theresa Dent, who is leaving her job after 22 years. A former lawyer who has worked for the NFU as its Director of Strategy, he will take up his new job with GWCT in March 2025. 9 months after the last case of avian influenza was detected in the UK, the disease is back. The risk to wild birds and poultry was downgraded in February, but has now returned to high after reports of a case in the East Riding of Yorkshire. The UK's Chief Veterinary Officer has announced a case of the H5N5 virus is now being investigated on a commercial poultry farm in Yorkshire. The virus can kill birds, and antis in both DEFRA and non-governmental organisations try to use evidence of the disease to try to close down shooting. 18 swans have been found dead in the field after flying into power lines, according to a wildlife officer. The birds were discovered on farmland in Cambridgeshire. UK Power Networks, which maintains the power lines, told the BBC that it was aware of the incident and would look to install bird diverters. It plans to install more pylons in East Anglia. And finally, you've heard the song, but if you're running a car repair shop in Sweden, you've seen it happen in real life. Here's the ultimate moose loose about the hoose. If you're the owner of the BMW it's jumping all over, it's going to make for an interesting insurance claim. The animal eventually makes its way out of the building and wanders off, leaving the garage owners to clear up the mess. The BMW is a write-off, and at least one other vehicle is seriously damaged. Thanks to Per Helmseth for the story. You are now up to date with Fieldsports Channel News. Stalking the stories, fishing for facts.